And I think as we make our way through here, people will see that, this really is a good time to be looking at buying a house.
Absolutely. In the rest of these questions that we're going to be covering here, these are the things that you need to know in today's market.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
Yeah, and this is a different market than what it was 2-3 years ago.
Oh, it is definitely not the same.
Yeah. So 68% of people currently do own a house right now.
That's actually that's an encouraging statistic.
It is.
I thought it had gone lower than that, and I think that really shows that there's still some stability out there.
Well, I think a big part is people do understand that a home is a financial asset.
Correct.
And again, I know the last couple years was a challenging time to get into the market. But now I think most of the experts agree we're definitely at the bottom of that curve.
That's right.
And going up is the way it's going to go. And
I guess the key to buying is really knowing what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, and when it comes to buying a house, as it says right here, knowledge opens doors. When you come into a situation and you know what questions to ask, when you know what to look for, you're not only going to get a better buy in terms of price, but the features that come with a home. You're much less likely to get trapped into something that needs a lot of repair or something like that.
Yeah, and the reason why you're on this class today is, Ralph, it's very dangerous when you think you know what to ask, but
you don't.
But you don't.
That's right. You know enough to be dangerous.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So the questions that we're talking about here are really designed for that person who's a first-time home buyer.
Yeah, but I would say even a seasoned pro, even I have to be honest with you, in preparing for this workshop today, you and I have bought and sold dozens of houses.
And I was surprised at how much I had forgotten, or frankly, at how much I never actually knew about this. There's some great information here.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I guess the first question is, what's the best way? How do I begin the process of buying a home?
Well, the first question you have to ask yourself is, should I rent or should I own? And we're gonna just show you a couple topics we're gonna be covering here.
That's right. Am I ready to buy a house? If you decide you should own, are you ready?
And then if you're buying one, well, geez, how much of one can I afford?
How much payment can I afford? How much space do I need? That's a big one.
Yeah. What area of town that I like? All these are factors that'll affect the price of the home.
Great way to get information is to talk to friends and family about what's available.
No question. And drive through the neighborhoods. Before when you're buying a house, you're not just buying a house. This is a real big point, everybody. You're buying a neighborhood.
That's exactly right. You're buying all the people in that neighborhood. Most people don't think of it in those terms. Right.
And even though online is a great resource, I tell you, I still believe in looking in the homes section of the newspaper.
If nothing else, that gets you started and gives you a quick overview of the types of things that are available.
And more specific to your particular area.
Yes. Okay, so kind of going back up to the top then, how does purchasing a home compare with renting?
Well, I think one of the, just being absolutely objective here, one advantage of renting is generally being free of most of the...
There's a lot to be said with walking out, turning the key, and going your way.
There is, but it also comes at a price, because what you're losing is...
you don't have the chance to build equity.
No question.
When you're renting a home, everything that you pay is going in someone else's pocket. And said a different way, when you're not buying your own home and renting, you're buying someone else's home for them.
Yeah, no question about it. The other thing is that with the tax benefits, and there's some new programs coming in. We actually have some information on the new tax benefits. If you'll look down at the bottom of this screen here, we should have a phone number there or contact information. You can give us a call at the office, and we'll share with you some of the new reports that we have on the new tax benefits. And I'll be honest with you, what the government's doing here, in a good way, it's shocking.
It's really remarkable.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, another great benefit of owning your own home is that your landlord's never going to come in and raise your rent.
That's for sure.
You have your mortgage payment, and that's what you're paying in terms of principal and interest.
Yeah.
Now your taxes and your insurance, those can change year to year, and they will.
Yeah.
Okay, but as far as what you're paying for the house, that's fixed. It's not going to be going up on you.
Ralph, but on this last one, this is the one that really spoke to me when we bought our first home. Is finally we have sometimes I wasn't sure if I was married to my wife or married to my landlord.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I do. I know exactly what you mean.
And the freedom to not just decorate the home that I want, but to live in the home how I want, in whether we want to have a dog or not, have a cat or not, smoke or not, or
Do you want to paint a room a certain color? Do you
Exactly.
want to add the ceiling fan? Things like that.
make it ours.
Make it your own.
But this is where we live.
That's correct.
Absolutely. All right. So now, Ralph, we come to the question of how do I know if I'm ready to buy a home? So
Correct.
we've got some things to look about here.
Yeah. Well, first of all, do you have a steady job or a steady source of income? A lot of folks, they have a steady source of income, and really that's the key. You know,
Yeah.
you may or may not have the job, but if your own situation gives you a steady source of income so that you know you can meet that monthly payment, okay, that's a big one right off the bat.
Yeah. And along with that is you're looking to see is have you been employed on a regular basis? Now, we have on here for the last 2 to 3 years, but we want you to take note of that last part there. It says, or do you have a good reason that you weren't? In other words, if you just graduated from school,
Correct.
or maybe somebody just had a baby,
That's right.
it's okay not to have been in the job market. A lot of people falsely think that you have to have been working for the last 2 years, and that is absolutely not the case. However, your job does need to be like a W-2 type of a job. So if you're doing
a regular paycheck.
a regular paycheck,
Sure.
we're like they take the taxes out of it, a W-2.
That really leads into the next question. Is your current income reliable?
Exactly.
A W-2 will prove to your would-be lender that this is reliable income. Now, you may be an artist. You may be your own contractor. You've got a skill. You lay tile. You paint. You do something and you produce your own income. In a situation like that, they're going to look at that differently than the person who just gets a paycheck every month just for showing up, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And on if you are self-employed or 1099 employed, something like that, you're going to have to show a track record of the last couple years that this
Absolutely.
is, and they are going to be looking for your full tax returns with today's loan programs.
That's correct. Now, next thing, do you have a good record of paying your bills? I mean, really, if you think of yourself as the lender, would you lend yourself money knowing how you pay bills? See, because the lender wants to know that they're going to put their money out and the payments are going to be made on a regular basis, just like everybody else. They want the most for the least. See, they want to lend you money, but they want to know you're going to make those payments on time.
Yeah, and I like the way you said that. Would you lend you money?
Yeah.
Looking at your situation, and that's basically what they're doing. Now, keep in mind, and we have a whole nother workshop on this subject. We just want you to know that if your current past record may not be,
And there may be a good reason that it may not be good.
that's right, and frankly, with today's economy, a lot of people have been laid off. I mean, it's not your fault necessarily.
That's right.
We're gonna make that real clear. And we want to let you know that over here, if there's some credit issues or you think you have some credit issues, we absolutely positively have some answers for that. Again, you can scroll down and look at the bottom there, and there's some contact information, and give us a call, and we can give you a great report that's entitled "The 10 Myths That the Credit Bureaus Wouldn't Tell You."
Right.
And
Great information. in
great
that
information, so we can get that over to you also.
report. Okay. Do you have some credit history? Now, see, paying the bills is one thing. Your electric bill, your cable bill, things like this. Do you have some credit history? Can you show that someone has lent you money and that you've paid it back as agreed?
Yeah, because about just as bad as having credit issues is having no credit history whatsoever.
Right.
Now, again, on here, there are some programs where, let's say you don't have a credit card, but you've been paying rent for the last year, you have a car payment for the last year, maybe paying on your student loans. So there are some programs where they can judge credit based upon those things.
Correct.
And it's not necessary that you actually have credit cards or something like that.
Yeah, by the way, just one other thing on here. No credit, by the way, correlates to a credit score.
Yes.
What they found is that a person with no credit score behaves the most similar in payment history to a person with a 555 credit score.
Which is a challenging credit score.
Which is a very challenging credit score. So,
so no credit is actually almost considered,
that's tough.
challenge.
Yeah, a challenge. Okay, have you saved some money for a down payment? I mean, do you have something to come in and put down on the house, or do you have gift funds available to you?
Yeah. Now, keep in mind that this particular question does not have to be a yes answer on this one. All right. The others are yes answers. This particular one can be a no because there are some programs that some of the big banks may not want you to know that there are some 100% money.
100% financing, or allow some gifting from family,
Yep.
or even from some outside. It doesn't have to be family.
That's exactly right. So just know that there are some 100% programs available, and again, because of time constraints, we can't go into all the programs here. Just call into the office, but just real clear, the 100% programs, they are government programs. It's not one of these buy here, pay here type things.
Right. No smoke and mirrors.
No smoke and mirrors. It's real 100% financing government programs, part of the new bailout program. So again, call the office and we can tell you about those.
Correct. And then this last one here. Look, do you have the ability to pay a mortgage every month plus the additional costs? I mentioned these just a moment ago. You're going to have the taxes, the property taxes. You're going to have insurance. You may have homeowners association dues. There could be additional costs that way. And just be honest with yourself and say, look, do I have this ability? Is this realistic? If it is, then if you can answer these questions properly, you're probably ready to go ahead and make a purchase.
No question. And again, you can call the office at that number down there, and we can help you figure this part out.
Correct.
Because some people go, okay, well, how much is enough? We can help you with that. And again, because of time constraints, we're not going to be doing that particular math problem today. But if there's a formula, we can help you with it.
Yeah, give us a call.
5-minute phone call.
Yep. Okay. How do I know what I need? Well, frankly, it's pretty simple. You're going to start out and you just make a list of the priorities here in getting a house. Now, what you actually have is a double list. You make a must-have list, and then you make a I'd like to have or a wish list.
Yes.
Okay?
So a must-have, an example of a must-have would be, say, well, it's got to be kind of close to my work.
Yeah.
Or it has to be close to this school, or it needs to be close to the bus line.
That's right.
Or we have to have at least 2 bedrooms.
And at least 2 bathrooms, or gosh, we have 4 kids, we need 3 bedrooms, or things like that.
So that's part of the must. Now the wish list would be things like, it would be nice if it was a corner lot, or it would be nice if it had a swimming pool.
Yeah, fireplace is great.
Yeah.
But is it a necessity?
Exactly. And we recommend that before you jump in the car and start looking at houses, is have this wish list, kind of looked at, and
exactly,
and know
that'll
what you're...
save you time, because when you're speaking to your realtor, they're going to love working with somebody who knows what they want and why they want it.
And frankly, it'll say they can help you target in exactly what you're looking for if you know what you want. If you don't know what you want, they're going to have a hard time showing it to you.
That's right. Okay, so what should you be looking for when deciding on the community? We talked about this a minute ago. When you buy a house, you don't just buy the house, you buy the neighborhood.
No question.
And then you buy the things that are around the neighborhood.
No question. Now, some of the things you're going to want to look at, and these are big. Ralph, I would say when somebody screws up, this is where it happens.
This is a commonplace.
This is a very commonplace. Is we went to somebody's house not too long ago. They bought into a community. Come to find out, motorcycles weren't allowed in the community.
Yeah.
And they had a his and her bikes.
And they each had bikes.
They each had bikes. So they ended up having to spend more money and store them at a storage place.
Yep.
Because they didn't look into it.
Ding! Additional expense.
Exactly. Same thing, like if you like swimming or if you like tennis or something like that, find a community that fits your daily lifestyle.
What are the schools like? Boy, this is a biggie.
Yeah.
I know Carl's had this experience. I have too. I had a house that I sold, and it was made much easier to sell because it was in a very desirable school zone.
Even if you don't have kids.
Even if you don't have kids.
For the next person when it comes time to resell.
For the next person, because they buy with the same thing in mind. Gosh, when I sell it, well, people want this because it's in the zone of a school that everybody wants to go to.
Yeah.
So that's big.
No question.
All right. Access to shopping, to public transportation. Do you take a bus to work?
Right.
Do you take a subway to work?
Right.
How do you get there? Okay?
Exactly.
The things that are around here, we've got libraries, museums. If you got somebody who's a student,
yes,
or they have kids who are students, well, that's helpful if there's a library close by. Shopping. Do you want to be driving 20 miles to go to the supermarket?
Exactly.
These are all considerations.
Yeah.
Hey, museums, if you're a history buff, it might be nice to have a museum close by.
And I think the important part of doing this particular section here on this slide that we're doing is to be brutally honest with yourself. And of all places not to compromise, this is pretty high on my list of not compromising.
It really is, because once you buy the community, once you are there, so you can fix up a house.
Yeah.
You can add bedrooms, you can add bathrooms. But you can't change your neighbors.
It's hard to move a house.
That's exactly right. Or hard to move someone else's house.
Or someone else's.
How about
That's exactly
that?
right.
Okay. we were talking on a program that we have that actually will show what's nearby a house that you're considering looking at, and I mentioned, gosh, this it gives you a walking score.
Yes.
Oh, this has this is a low score. I mean, you'd have to a car to get around here. Well, you know what? That's perfect. Some people like it that way.
That's exactly right.
They don't want to be in the middle of the hustle and bustle. They like it quiet. They like a more rural setting, kind of a country feel. So that's a consideration when you're thinking about your community.
Yeah. Now, one of our little secrets that we strongly recommend that you do is actually go drive around the area that you're looking at. And Ralph, I mean, I really do recommend doing this. Is knock on the doors and talk to the neighbors, or if there's a little a park over in the neighborhood, go, or a dog walk or something like that.
Check it out. See who's there. See if there's someone there to speak to. Just do it in a non-threatening way. Let them know that you're not scoping out the area or anything like that. But just, you know what, I'm considering buying here.
Yeah. Well, what's it like?
Do you like it?
Yeah. Do you like it?
What are some of the pros? What don't you like?
Yeah.
What are the things I should be aware of? Things like that.
And we find that when we actually go and do this, that people are pretty responsive. I've never had somebody.
Let me tell you, if somebody likes their house and the community, they'll like telling you about it.
Frankly, if I knocked on somebody's door and a couple of them door and they shut the door in my face, it would let me know exactly what I needed to know.
That's some good research right there.
That's a good research right there. Now, how can I find out about community resources? Number one, again, give us a call. Our phone number's right there, here at the bottom of the page. We've been here. We're going to be here, so we can help you there. But I tell you, one of the areas that a lot of people overlook today in the digital society is the good old Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
So the Chamber of Commerce, absolutely positively, is a great resource.
They're still there, and not only are they there, they've got a website and a bunch of easy resources to look at.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we select the right real estate agent? Let me tell you.
Okay, and this is assuming that you're not already working with one.
Absolutely.
And so, right. So if you're already with one,
if you have one, we assume you're with the right one.
Exactly.
That's right.
So this is going to be for those that haven't picked one out yet. Here's a dirty little secret. If you want to know who the best doctor is in the hospital, go ask the nurses.
That's right.
Because they're the ones that work with them day in, day out, and they know what to look for.
That's right.
So if you want to know who a good real estate agent is, call over our office. Trust me, we work with them day in, day out.
We can tell you who's nice to work with.
And we can tell you who's challenging to work with, who
Correct.
cares about their clients, and maybe who's doesn't care quite as much. And so that's a big one.
Your family and friends have probably already bought places and may very likely have some great insight for you on who to work with, can make perhaps a specific recommendation for you.
Yeah.
I worked with, John Brown over at RE/MAX. Oh my gosh, not only was he conscientious, really knew the market well, but his staff was outstanding.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing you're looking for.
Yeah. And the other thing I do is I recommend, getting a list of a couple of agents and just simply calling them up and say, Agent Bob, I'm considering about buying a house in the neighborhood. I'm looking at you and 3 other agents. Why would I work with you? What is the one reason I would work with you versus somebody else?
Let me tell you, that sort of sets people back on their heels.
Yeah.
It turns off all the salesy hype and things like that, because you're telling them right now, you're in the market, you're serious.
Yeah.
They probably have very, very few people who will call up and admit that they're interviewing realtors because
right.
they want to buy a house. So
That's
you will
right.
set yourself apart immediately.
That's right. And the other thing we'd say is meet with a couple agents until you find one that you feel you just get a gut feeling for. You know what I mean?
When you sit and chat with somebody, your little personal radar will come in and say, you know what, this is a person I can connect with, or this, frankly, is a person that I don't want to spend any time with. And you want to know that before you make a commitment to be with them.
Yeah. But again, the best way to do it, really, we can save you a lot of headache. Give us a call and we'll turn you on one. If you're already working with one and you just want, kind of between us.
Between us girls?
Between us girls, as you say it sometimes. But just between us, is that somebody that we would recommend? Give us a call and we'll just, we'll tell you what's been our experience with that person.
Give you an honest opinion.
If we have one.
If we have one, if we know.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Ralph, how can I find out how much homes are selling for in certain neighborhoods and, in communities? I mean, the best way to do this, guys,
you just check with the real estate agent. They are tied in to a whole sea of resources. In fact, many more now than they were 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's an entirely different ballgame.
Yeah.
There are a number of websites that you can go to now and can quickly compare prices on properties,
Yeah.
and come to a fairly accurate valuation for a house.
Yes. And just like we said a few minutes ago, it's important that you get with the right agent. We can help you with this. This is why working with a good agent, they know this is what they do day in, day out. And just like you're good at what you do, they're good at what they do. They're your resource for finding out what things are selling for.
Absolutely correct. Okay, so should we be looking at an older house or a newer house?
Well, and there's some consideration with this. And first of all, we want to tell you there's no right or wrong answer here.
Yes and yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For me personally, I kind of like an older home because I like the character
That's right.
of an older home.
The architectural style is different on newer homes.
Yeah.
And now, are there some newer homes that are cool architecture?
Oh, no question.
Absolutely.
No
But
question.
A lot of times you might look at a house and you'll come along in a neighborhood and go, okay, this was built in the 1970s.
Yeah.
This was built in the 1950s. This was built in the 1990s. You can tell right away just by looking at it. See,
And not that one's better or worse than the other.
that's exactly right. A lot
Yeah.
of it comes down to personal preference.
Absolutely.
Now, so individual characteristics, as we just mentioned, things like the architecture.
Now, when I go by my older homes, one thing I do deal with, though, Ralph, is I am going to have more of a maintenance issue.
That's right.
I mean, I don't care how you slice it and dice it. If I buy a house that was built back in the 50s, even,
Yep.
which is 60 years ago or so.
That's right.
I personally like the flavor of that, but
if it hasn't been updated, it's going to need to be.
It's going to be very expensive. So
That's
again,
right.
this is just a personal preference thing, and no right or wrong. But just understand, if you're buying a newer home, you're not going to have the maintenance issues. In fact, if you buy a brand new home, typically they come with a warranty.
That's right.
And I would say the newer homes, the codes on building homes aren't getting easier for the builders.
Oh no, they're getting tougher.
So
I can tell you that firsthand.
So a newer home certainly is going to go through more inspections,
Correct.
than a home even built 10 years ago would have.
That's absolutely right. We mentioned architecture and structure. Definitely a characteristic that you're considering when you're trying to decide what works the best for you.
And here's the biggest one of all: energy efficiency. Boy, when I get my 1950s house, yeah, my electric bill, I'm gonna be paying for it. So it's okay for me to want these things, just knowing that I'm going to be paying a price for it.
That's right.
And you have to decide whether you're willing to pay a price or not.
The codes are different. The insulation is different. If you have an old air conditioning and heating system, it's going to be less efficient and much more costly to operate.
So, Ralph, when we're looking around for a home, what are some things, and this is a good thing to make a list of these things we're getting ready to give you here, guys. What are some things they should look for when they're walking through a home?
All right. Well, right off the bat, you're talking about the size of the home. Is there enough room in the home, both for the present and the future, both for now and later? You say,
Yeah.
well, why does that matter? Okay, well, what's your age? Do you have kids now? Are you going to be adding to your family?
Or are kids going to be moving away, and you're not going to need as much room in the next
That's
couple of years?
exactly right. So you might look at getting into a house that's going to be maybe it's a little tighter now, but that's going to be for a shorter time period, and then it will fit better.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there enough bedrooms and bathrooms? Well, how many people are going to be living there?
Yeah.
So you can decide that fairly easily.
And at the risk of having something thrown at me, do you have a house full of girls or a house full of boys when deciding the bathrooms?
That's exactly
Because
right.
if you got 5 teenage girls, they're going to be a little bit more makeup time, hopefully, than the 5 teenage boys, right?
Even my pets are girls.
Yeah.
Everybody's girls in my house except
Yeah.
me. Okay. Structurally sound, and this is a big you want to look at. You'll check the foundation. Certain parts of the country are where the ground goes through a lot of expanding and contracting, and between the rainy season and the dry season, you have certain parts are real prone to sinkholes.
Yeah, no question.
Those just wreak havoc on houses for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
even
and
small ones.
Even small ones. But again, a newer home is going to be a little safer play.
Correct.
Than an older home on this one.
That's right. Okay, I mentioned a minute ago the mechanical systems. Your electric. Okay,
Yeah.
is it current? Is it a modern electric system, or is it something that's still back on fuses? If it's on fuses, that's going to need to be looked at. Your mechanical system, the air conditioning, heating. Okay.
Now, one thing on this particular item, we have a great report, and again, because we're trying to keep this under 60 minutes for everybody's convenience, we have a great report. We have a list of questions that you must ask your home inspector.
Yes.
Or you could. This is another biggie, guys. You have to get a home inspector, but you have to know what to ask your home inspector.
If you want the report, Call the number that's right down below the...
Yeah, just give us a call. I'm telling you, if you do nothing else, call and get that report. It's the home inspector must know questions report.
Absolutely.
And we'll get that right over to you. And again, it's just our gift to you.
Okay, good. Is the yard big enough?
Good question.
Usually this comes in if you have kids, you want room for them to play. Do you have pets? What do you need there? Are you going to put in a swing set? Things like that. Well, there you go. Do you like the floor plan?
You got to like the looks of the house.
And you'll know that, I'm telling you, when you walk in the house.
Yeah.
It'll speak to you or it won't.
Now, if you already have a house full of furniture, it'd sure be nice if your furniture happens to fix it, to fit that house.
Correct.
Not that that would be my final judgment, but it's certainly something to continue.
Storage space.
Can you have too much?
My wife says no. Okay. If you walk into a place, do you have any closets?
Yeah.
If there's no closets at all, that's going to be something to really you need to contend with. Does anything need to be repaired or replaced?
Boy, and if you're going to negotiate, guys, this is a great area to negotiate on.
This comes back to that inspection.
You really need to get that inspection report.
When you say anything, when you're buying a house, anything is a big list.
Yeah.
It could be anything from siding to roofing to flooring to mechanical systems. There's a whole gambit there.
Now, ideally, you want the seller to repair or replace these items. And in today's market, you can make a lot of requests about this, and they'll come through.
It's a good time in the market to be asking for that stuff.
It is, but keep in mind, if it's a bank-owned property, or if you have a seller that's upside down and maybe they're I don't know, they don't care anymore. Is
right.
It okay to say that?
Well, you can.
Yeah, somebody that's maybe caught between a rock and a hard spot.
It's going to be tougher to get them to pony up money. Virtually impossible.
Exactly right. So just kind of keep that in mind. Again, your agent would be a good person to bounce this off of.
Correct. Okay. I love this. And it takes a little creativity here, but you imagine that house in good weather, in bad weather, and in each season.
In other words, if you're in you look to see, like, if it rains, is this house at the bottom of a hill? And gee, it seems like everybody's drainage tends to run into my yard.
It's coming into my yard. Do I have a steep driveway, and do I live in an area where where if it freezes or rains or snows, that could be difficult to navigate?
Right. Or is it located on a hill that when it rains, the mud comes down on the driveway and creates an obstacle? I had a house like that one time.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely something to look at.
And that really comes into the next question. Will you be happy with it year-round?
Yeah.
Will you be happy with it? Is it a great summer place, but the insulation is poor, and in the wintertime it's going to be too cold?
Yeah. Okay, number 10 here is how long will I be living in this home? A lot of people miss over this one too, Ralph.
That's right. And really what that comes down to is kind of what phase are you in life? Did you just get out of school?
Yeah, because if you just got out of school, you can compromise a little bit on the space, unless you plan on having kids right off the bat. You might have 3-4 years in between kids, and again, everybody's going to be different.
That's right. Now, if you have an early family, you'll have a different set of goals and things you're looking for in a house than, well, frankly, if you just got out of school, or
if you're an empty nester.
If you're an empty nester.
Because if you're an empty, like let's say if you have an early family, you're going to need a little bit more space as they grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
Teenagers are definitely going to need a little bit more elbow room than a room full of 6-year-olds, so to speak.
That's exactly right.
And then on empty nesters, same thing. You might it would be okay to be pinched for space for a little bit, knowing that if you're getting ready to be an empty nester here in a year or two, you could go with a little bit less space or a little bit smaller of a yard because they're going to be going off, and having their own family soon.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Okay, so next thing, how can we keep track of all the homes you see? And you definitely want to be looking at a number of homes.
Okay, here's what we recommend that you do. This is Ralph, you're the one that taught me this one. This is a great trick.
Yeah.
What you do is go pick up a binder, right? Like at Office Depot.
Absolutely.
Something like that, right?
Like a 3-ring binder, notebook.
Yeah. And what we want you to do is we want you to take pictures of the house and literally, we recommend, even with the digital camera, when you get home, print them out and put them in this book. It's a lot easier to evaluate homes when you're looking through this 3-ring binder and you're seeing all the pictures at once versus scrolling through them on your camera. And when you print them up, typically it's a little bit bigger than the little screen that you're looking at on your camera too.
It's easier to see. You can make notes. and so you can compare it much more easily.
Yeah. Oh, and you make a good point. So when you print out the pictures, you're absolutely right, Ralph. You can jot in notes and everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Now some
underneath it.
people will travel with a notebook or something and sit and make notes about the house, but there's nothing like seeing that picture to jog your memory.
Well, Ralph, here comes a real big one. How many homes should somebody look at before choosing one?
Well, it says right here, visit as many as you want. There is no maximum. I got a buddy who's a realtor, and one of the things he does, when he'll sit down, he'll make a list of the things you want. He will go on a tour with you, and he'll show you 25 houses in a day.
Yeah.
I mean, he will run around, and you'll get used to go, oh, this is one of those houses where you walk in, the living room's to the left, the family room is back to the right, the bedrooms are, you get these in your mind,
Yes.
and then you can very quickly compare the features that each home has.
Now, a key when you do this is communicate with your real estate agent about what you like or don't like. It's very important, guys, as you're going out looking for houses. Sometimes we hear people saying, well, I didn't want to hurt their feelings. Look, it's not, even if it's their listing, it's not their own personal house. I mean, it might be, but most time it's not their own personal house.
Here's a piece of advice.
Yeah.
Hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to think of ways to hurt their feelings,
Yeah.
but don't be afraid to say what's on your mind.
Yeah.
Listen, this is all about you.
Yes.
It is not about them.
That's right.
Okay?
Totally.
Communication is key.
And then with that binder that you're talking about, Ralph, and keeping
Yes.
those notes, stay organized when you're doing your search. But I'm going to tell you right now, let me tell you another mistake I see people make. They'll go out the first day and they'll find a house they love, and then they keep looking. And it's like, well, sometimes it is going to be the first house you see.
That's correct.
And if the house is exactly what you're looking for and the price seems about right, well, guess what? You didn't have to go look at 100 houses.
That's right.
So don't feel like you need to go look at 100.
You might make a list of the houses that have the characteristics that you want in that area. Say there's 10 of them. My wife and I had this very experience. We looked at the first house and went, that's a good candidate. The next one we looked at and went, I don't think so. The next one, nope, I don't think so. It turns out that it was the first house, but we simply compared it to each house, and what we've done before in a similar process on a different property. If another house comes up better, now that's the house to beat.
Yes.
So you just work with the house to beat. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, I found a home. What types of inspections are required?
All right, well, let's talk about that for a minute. First of all, always get a home inspection first. And again, we have a list, and maybe we should have said this before. We have a list here in our office where we have a list of home inspectors.
Yep.
We have a list of termite inspectors.
Yes.
And these are all people that we know of. We've seen their work. And again, if you want to know who a good doctor is, ask the nurses.
Ask the nurses.
We want you to think of us as
the nurses.
as the nurses, so to speak, in this aspect. But in answering this question, there's a couple things you need to have done. Number one, this is going to depend upon different areas, but you'll need things like radon gas or maybe asbestos. If the property has a well on it, you'll need to have the pump needs to be inspected.
That needs to be inspected.
And the holding tank.
Correct.
A termite inspection, again, depending upon the area, is certainly recommended. If the house was built prior to 1978, and especially if you have kids under the age of 7, you're definitely going to want to have an inspection for lead-based paint.
Lead-based paint.
Yeah.
Electrical inspection. Now, see, several of these come under, if you get a good home inspector, these items will be part of that inspection. A roof inspection.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
So
a good person to start with on this is a home inspector. Again, give us a call, and we can turn you on to the home inspectors that we recommend, and they'll tell you what other things of the house that needs to be inspected. And frequently, the home inspector will not be the same. If you need to have the well inspected, that might be a specialty inspector.
that could be a specialty person. That's exactly right.
But they'll lead you in the right directions about that.
Okay, so we talked about home inspectors. What do they do, and how does an inspector figure in the purchase of a home?
Well, first of all, is you're going to check for the safety of a home. So
Yeah.
a home inspector isn't going to just be, seeing if there's cracks or, something broke or termites or something. They're going to look at the safety of the home too.
Right. Is this a safe place for you and your family to live based on a list of things that they look at?
'Cause keep in mind, when you see that big old wire coming in the house, I mean, there's some major electric activity going on in a house, and people can get hurt. So you want to make sure. So we don't want you to think of this as, well, I don't have any kids, so that's not so much of a factor.
No, it's a factor.
It's a factor.
It's a factor.
Yeah, absolutely. the other thing is the home inspector, they're going to focus on, the structure, the constructions, and the mechanical. And we're talking about mechanical, sometimes we're talking about like the air conditioner,
Right.
And the plumbing,
Uh-huh.
and also with the appliances.
Correct. Now, they'll make you aware of what repairs are then needed. They'll come along and often they'll say, okay, in the life of a roof, for instance, often they'll say, okay, generally that's a 15-year. Okay,
Yes.
This thing was put on 5 years ago. You've got another 10 good years on this roof. Or they might
Yeah.
go, you know what? You're going to need to replace this roof within the next 24 months.
Exactly.
Well, that's something to plan on because, they cost money.
Now, you bring up a good point there, Ralph, is what an inspector doesn't do is they do not evaluate whether or not you're getting a good value for the property.
That's right.
Yeah, so this is not the person to ask, gee, do you think we're getting a good price on this home?
Am I paying too much for this?
Or am I getting a steal? They don't know.
Right.
This is a thing that, we can help you with here at our office. Your real estate agent certainly would be the first place that I would stop at that.
Correct.
And but what they can do is they can tell you how much the repairs would, what's an estimate of the repairs that they would cost.
What's it likely to cost you
Yeah.
to put this in working condition, or if you need to repair it?
Okay.
Again, if you're looking for a qualified or an experienced inspector, again, we can help you with
Yeah,
that.
give
Our
us a
number's
call.
right at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Just give us a jingle.
Don't use the yellow pages for this one, guys.
No, honestly, don't.
Yeah.
You'll save a lot of time.
Yeah.
Now, before you sign the final offer, you want to make sure to have an inspection clause.
Well, what's an inspection clause,
An
Ralph?
inspection clause is a clause. It's a little sentence or paragraph within your contract that allows you X number of days, typically,
Yeah.
or weeks, in which to complete an inspection and to bring up any issues that are found in that inspection.
Exactly. Now, and again, this is your real estate agent is the one that'll help you with this. But just as an example, the clause might say something like, and again, we're not attorneys or we're not acting as a real estate agent here. We're just giving you an example here.
Exactly.
That was my little disclaimer.
Very good.
But an example of one might be, this contract is contingent upon buyer's approval of home inspection
Yes.
performed by home inspector of buyer's choice.
That's right.
Let me say that again. This contract is contingent upon buyer's approval of home inspection performed by home inspector of buyer's choice. In other words,
Let me put that in English for
Okay.
you. What that means is you'd like to buy this house, but you get to choose a home inspector, and the contract, the validity of the contract is contingent upon your approval of the findings of that inspector, the inspector you chose.
yes.
It's not a matter of the seller going, oh, well, okay, but you have to use my inspector.
No.
No. Look, it's your inspector.
Yeah.
You're going to tilt this in your favor. Everything is going to be in so that there's nothing hidden. Any possible thing that can happen works to your benefit this way.
All right, what about this question, Ralph? So the seller says, oh, that's good. We've already done a home inspection. Here it is.
You could say, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to look at that, but I'm still going to have my own inspector do
Very
it.
good. In fact, what you've told me in the past to do, Ralph, is actually get their old inspection that they have, or their new inspection they have with their inspector,
Right.
and give that to my inspector.
Give it to the inspector.
Because maybe their inspector actually caught something that mine
Correct.
maybe not wouldn't.
That's
just
right.
for instance.
Yep.
Okay. Now, does somebody need to be there for the inspection?
Frankly, I would recommend that you do.
Yeah.
I would recommend that you be there, and the reason for that is that when your inspector is looking at the different parts of the home, if he's inspecting mechanical, he may need to see things operate.
Yes.
For instance, I've got a guy that when he does the sprinkler system, he'll have you turn on the sprinkler system. He will stand in the yard in a rain suit and watch where the spray goes, and he figures the best way to see that and make sure there's coverage is to stand right there in it and see where it sprays.
Very good.
You know what? That's impressive.
That's my kind of home inspector.
Exactly.
Now, so it's certainly not required. It's a good idea. If nothing else, be there for sure for the last 15 minutes of the inspection.
Yes.
Because then the inspector, he or she, will walk you around the property and point out the things that they found.
Exactly.
So certainly at least the last few minutes of the inspection.
Okay, what are home warranties? Boy, this is a biggie, and should you consider them?
Yes.
Yes, you should consider them. Go ahead.
Because they offer protection for the possibility of costly problems. So a home warranty is where typically things like the air conditioner, maybe the appliances,
A well and pump,
electrical system,
electrical, yep.
are actually warranted. And so I have seen these be a savior, Ralph, and whether the whether the seller helps pay for it or not, this is definitely something I would consider, and I would ask my real estate agent about this particular item.
Typically, the cost of a warranty like this is going to be less than the first repair you get on something that goes bad.
Yeah.
And so if there's any age to the appliances or the roof or the well or the things that we're talking about here, it's always a good idea to do it. And very often you can get the seller to pay some or all of the cost of the warranty.
Yeah. And there are some great warranty programs available. Again, you can call us at the office or contact the real estate agent, and they'll help you with that. And then the other thing is, Ralph, you consider having the seller or the agent sometimes.
Sometimes the agent will chip in for it as well.
Will chip in and help pay for these too. So,
absolutely.
Cole, one thing to keep in mind, if you just bought the house, you might be a little cash strapped for the first month or two, and then suddenly the air conditioner goes out. Not that it's anybody's fault.
That's right.
Things happen.
Things happen.
When it happens first couple months might make it a little rough.
Okay, so where can we find information on the property tax liability?
Well, it should be included on the listing, and they'll have how much the taxes are on the property. Of course, the other thing you could do is
You just ask the seller.
That's exactly right.
They'll talk about. They're going to know that they've been the ones who are paying the taxes on it.
Yeah, and then of course you can just check with the local tax assessor's office. And that's either you can make a phone call, go there in person, or they're right online.
Or go online. Just go to their website.
And again, we can help you with that. So just call our office and we can help you with that.
Okay. Do I really need homeowners insurance? And if so, how can I get the lowest rate? Okay, in one quick word.
Yeah.
You need it. It's a requirement.
And even if it wasn't.
Even if it's not a requirement, you need it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the lender will require it because they're not going to lend $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 on a house,
or $10,000,
or $10,000 on a house, and have it burned down, and have you go, oops.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Gosh, I don't have the money.
Yeah,
See?
absolutely.
So right off the bat, it's going to be a requirement.
Now, as far as getting a good rate, you can shop around for comparable rates. Frankly, you call over here at our office. Well, we'll tell you, because again, we work with insurance agents. That's what we do all day long.
Right.
And so we're happy to share with you the ones that we found that not only have a good rate, but will actually be there, if you need it.
And there's a wide range. There's a big difference in what you'll pay in premium in certain parts of the country.
Yeah, no question about it. Now, one thing you want to make sure is see if you're in a flood zone.
Yes.
And you might be thinking, geez, there's no way we're in a flood zone here. I tell you, I've seen some surprising places that are in an area of a flood zone that you would have never thought it was.
Correct.
So this is definitely a question that you want to ask. Now, another insider secret
is to use the same insurance company that you're using for your car insurance, for your life insurance, because often they'll give you a multi-policy discount.
Yeah, exactly.
So you'll get a better rate with a given company because they're also insuring your car than a person who didn't have their car insured with them.
Yeah. Okay, Ralph, so they've been out looking for houses and they go, gee, I'm ready to make an offer. How do I determine the initial offer? What do I do?
Okay, well here's some things that your offer should include.
Now we're going to put a list here up, but this is again something that your real estate agent, they're going to help you with. But I would still write these things down just as a check sheet.
And it's good for you to write them because when you talk to your realtor, if you're the one bringing them up, frankly, that will be impressive to them.
That's right. They'll know they need to pay a little bit more attention.
That's right.
Yeah, no
so
harm.
some things here. The complete legal description of the property. That's not the address. It's not the same as the address.
That's right.
That's a description in the public record which points to this house and only this house.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing would be the amount of earnest money. Or we also call this good faith money.
Good faith money. That's just money that's turned in with the offer, which helps to let the seller know that you're serious about this offer and this purchase.
Like a deposit.
Like a deposit.
Yeah.
Somebody who makes an offer and puts $100 with it is not as impressive to a person who makes an offer and puts $5,000 or $10,000 with it.
Right. But again, this is going to be an area that your real estate agent
will
help,
advise you.
Will advise you on that particular
Correct.
one. The next thing you'd want to have.
Now, your down payment, that's not the same as your earnest money deposit. your down payment is frankly, that's what your lender is going to require for the for the program that you're using. So if it's a 5% down, 95% financing, if it's 100% financing, if it's 90, if it's 80% the down payment is the portion that you didn't finance.
So so just to make it clear, let's say you're putting 5% down. Let's just for some easy math.
Yeah.
You're buying a $100,000 house.
$100,000 house.
And you're putting $5,000 as your down payment, but you already put down $1,000
with the offer,
as earnest money.
Right.
At closing,
you're going to bring another $4,000.
That's right.
And you're financing $95,000.
That's exactly right.
In this example.
That's exactly right. The other thing that you're going to want to make sure that's in with your contract is
you're going to tell them what day you want to move in.
Yeah. Don't assume that, gee, well, the day I buy this house is the day I can move in, because what if the seller needs a day, a week, an hour, a month, or whatever?
For whatever reason to move out. That's exactly right. What if there is, you could have a situation on a brand new house where for whatever reason there's a closing on a given day. These are less usual, but maybe the flooring will go in the next day, and that's taken care of in the contract.
Yes.
So it spells out that you've got the house, you've got the contract, but the seller, who's maybe a builder, says, okay, but you're going to move in 2 days afterwards because that's going to give us time to get the floor done.
That's exactly right.
So it could be anything like that.
Absolutely. And of course,
how much money you're offering for the home.
That's exactly
the price that you're offering. Obviously, that has to be very clearly laid out in your offer.
The proposed closing date, which again, you need to clarify to make sure that in the proposed move-in date, either they're the same, or if they're not, just you need
that everybody knows that they're not.
Exactly.
That's right.
Here's a biggie.
The length of the time the offer is valid.
What do we mean by that, Ralph?
Here's what it means. When you make an offer, very rarely now does somebody make an offer now that's just open-ended and you have as long as you want to think about it.
In other words, you made an offer to the seller.
Mr. Seller, I'm willing to buy your house at this price. I want to close on this date and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, this offer is good until tomorrow on this date at 5 o'clock p.m.
In other words, you're going to give them a reasonably short period of time to make their decision.
That's right. It's a good offer. We're serious about it, and we need to know if you'll entertain it, and we don't want you taking 3, 4, 5 days to think about it.
And here's why you typically, and again, your real estate agent can help you with this, but you typically don't want to give the seller an open-ended offer, because then you're tied up until he gives you a decision, and he can take your offer and shop it around to different buyers saying, I've got this price. Can somebody beat it?
That's right.
So that's what you don't want to happen.
Yeah.
So we recommend as short of a time as possible.
I've seen them 24 hours. I've seen them in the morning, and you need to answer this afternoon by 5 o'clock.
Now, keep in mind, again, if the seller is out of the area or if it's
indisposed somehow.
Or bank-owned property, again, this is something to ask your real estate agent, because each one's going to be a little different.
Correct.
And, of course, details of the deal. Details would be things like, does that big mirror in the bedroom, does that stay? Or the built-in, it looks like a built-in entertainment center.
Right.
Is it really built in? Or is that going?
Or is that going? Do I get the hot tub?
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that. Okay? So the thing is, you just need to be prepared for some give and take on the negotiation.
Yeah. Now, on the negotiation, we have a great report on how to negotiate. And guys, you have got to get a copy of this report. Again, time doesn't permit us to go over here.
Can't go into it, but our number's right down at the bottom. Give us a call.
And we'll give you this free report on this negotiation. And frankly, Ralph, I have to tell you, I found that negotiation one is good when I'm dealing with my kids, too, by the way. Trust me, we're negotiating all the time.
Even when you're not buying a house from them.
Even when we're not buying. Now, do I need a lawyer to buy a home? Now, some states require an attorney
to close,
and some don't. And so what we're going to tell you to do is, frankly, just check the laws here in our state.
Yeah.
And at the time, and make sure that
see how it applies to you.
See how it applies.
Sure.
But what I would say is check with your real estate agent for requirements and referrals. I mean, that's really the biggest thing that I would tell you guys is ask your real estate agent. Certainly, we would never tell you not to get one.
Absolutely.
And so check with your real estate agent. Maybe ask some of your friends. And then that way you can, just know that it's an option, and certainly an option worthy of a look.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now you're ready to apply for your mortgage perhaps at this time.
Correct.
So Ralph, this would be a good time for them to call the office.
Give us a call, and let's get started with the process.
And we'll walk you through the process of getting pre-approved. and we're going to show you the difference between pre-approval and
A pre-qualification.
pre-qualification.
Yeah, two different things.
Two different things. So we need to make sure what you have is exactly what you need.
Correct.
So what we want you to do right now is call the office for 3 reasons. Number 1, to get you pre-approved.
Yes.
That way there's no surprises. The reason you need to get pre-approved now is your offer is going to be a lot stronger when it's included in with our letter of approval.
If you submit an approval to the seller, letting them know that your financing is already arranged and that the bank is willing to close as soon as they find a house.
That's a very powerful thing in today's market,
gosh.
especially in today's market.
Especially today.
So number 1, we want to get you ready for that. Number 2, we want to get that home inspector, the questions you must ask your home inspector to avoid getting ripped off in today's market.
Yes. And then the third thing is that report on negotiating.
You got to have that.
You want that, and you want it before you do the negotiation.
Yeah, and again, we're not selling these things to you. We're going to give them to you.
Oh, that's right. This is not
Yeah.
that's not sales. That's
Yeah.
that's helpful information to help you in your transaction.
No matter what you're doing.
No matter what.
So there's our contact information right down there. So give us a call if the phone lines are busy after these calls. Sometimes the phone line
Just
gets a little
try
busy.
back in a couple minutes.
Yeah, keep calling. This information is way too important for you not to have it, and it's yours for the asking. It's our gift to you.
Absolutely.
And you and I don't care what stage in the game you're in. You need to have these 3 things.
Yes.
So we sure appreciate your time on today's call.
Yeah, thanks for being with us, and plug this stuff in and really put it to use now as you decide what to do about buying your home.
Yeah. Any further questions at this point, just simply call the office again, and we've got these reports. We're ready for your call, and we'll talk to you when you call in. Thank you, Ralph. One more thing, we have some other of these online workshops that we do on other
Yes.
subjects. Give us a call at the office, and we can give you a schedule of those also.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks
and
a lot.
Look forward to talking with you.
Best to you.